Hello, everyone. This is Joe Boston with Real Estate for Life. Today, I'd like to talk to you about contractors. And specifically, I've been getting questions about how people are reluctant to work with contractors because they feel like they'll be taken advantage of and or they will run off the job, right? And leave the job. So I've had many contractors, uh, start a job, not complete it, or not complete it in the right way. And so this all starts with the contract. Now, again, contracts, of course, they're written to protect you, right? And also the contractor, but there be no guessing about what you've agreed to. And also, I have some very significant clauses and requirements that I ask for when I hire a contractor. And so I'm going to cover those really quickly so that you'll be able to hopefully use these and mitigate some of the issues you might have. So, right now, I have a contract that I'm showing that we use. What it does is it asks for the contractor's name, preferably, it's going to be a company name along with the personal driver's license. But this is the one thing I do say: whatever name that's placed there is where I'm going to write the check to, and that's how I'm going to write it out. And so if they don't want that, that's up to them. I prefer a company, but if it is an individual, you just make sure you get all the corresponding information so that if there is a disagreement, then you can find that person. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But then there's my company name, and then the paragraph below that is what we've agreed to as far as how much we're going to pay them. And then there's the actual project site. Typically in real estate, it's going to be the property address, and then uh, I highlight the work that's going to be performed, and there's an attachment which is an Exhibit A that we'll actually go to. And this is a small one, so it's not very uh, many items that are listed on this actual example, but you can make it as long as possible. I would highlight and annotate everything that you want that person to do on this contract, the method by which the duties are to be performed. So if there's a time frame, if there's certain hours, how you want it to be done, it needs to be listed there. Then materials for this work, how will that actually arrive at the job site? Sometimes, yeah, you can require that the contractor purchases the material, and then they will be reimbursed. I prefer buying the material myself because then I know that there's really no markup, and then maybe charge them or pay them for a trip charge. But I prefer to buy my own material. One is you develop a relationship with the vendors, but also, again, you know where the material is, and so you should always be able to keep track of it. Next, it's understood when the start time it will be and when the end time will be. This is crucial because if you're going to charge any delay fees and how much it's going to be per day if they don't make it or complete the job on time, this is really important, right? Because you don't want it to be open ended. Now, you can actually add a day or two if you want to, just depending on if it's not, if it's an act of Mother Nature, you might, be obviously be cognizant of that. But if it is just, them not showing up to the work site on time or leaving early, then I think does need to be a time frame. Obviously, that uh, they will have to abide by, and then you'll be compensated. And then you can annotate what the standard working conditions will be. And again, this is as detailed as you want to make it. So be sure that you actually use this for your style and how you want to manage it. Now, the next page, I'd like to really, really emphasize this is what I use because The one thing about contractors is, when they go to your work site, you are somewhat vulnerable because they don't, they know your work site, typically your office, but you know very little about them. And so when they disappear, that's why, a lot of us struggle because they're gone. What am I going to do? So, there's some ways to mitigate it. I try as much as possible to get as many things in my possession that has their current location of where they live. Typically, when people know that you know where they live, and just like they know where your project is and or your place of business, typically there won't be any escalations because they know that you know where they live. So, as you'll see on the second page, here's my exhibit A. That's the scope of work that will uh, be done. And this is where you both will agree to the job that's going to be completed. But underneath that, and this is really why I wanted to talk to you about some of the things I do, is I require that I get a copy of the contractor's driver's license. Okay. And that's pretty standard, but also a copy of their spouse's driver's license. Now, you might say, well, not everybody's going to be married, and that's fine. But if they are single, what I would like, and I'd like it if they're married as well, is a copy of a photo of their front of their current residence, and then a current copy of a bill that shows within 30 days where they're living that they've paid. If you can't get that, then you want to meet them at their place of residence. Okay. In addition to that, the next one, number 4, is a release of lien, and that says release pre-filled out. And what I do is I actually have a release of lien. I'll talk about that at another time, but I have a release that I have filled out, and I have them initial it because then they realize they have to sign a release of lien to get paid. Okay. And it has to have their current address on it. And then in addition to that, a photo of their license plate and VIN number. Okay. License plates, they can actually change it, but their VIN number, they can't. So make sure you get a copy of their VIN number. It's really, really important. Now, again, they can change cars, but typically with their work trucks, they're not going to be able to do that. And you'll be able to trace that back to a location. Now, again, what I found is that when you get this information, there's going to be open communication, obviously, when you know where they live. So I, just like them, if I meet them at my office, I expect, that I know where they live. And so, whether it's stopping by and asking them, hey, do you mind if I come and meet you to sign the contract at their office? It could be their office as well. It doesn't have to be their home, but typically, if you're working with trades, they might not have an office, but if they do, meet them at their office instead of them coming to yours. And so then you'll have a place that that they reside, and you'll be able to get a hold of them in case there is an issue with the quality of work or them not, showing up to the job. You'll be able to have some traceability. I think for a lot of people that are starting in this industry, they just take people for face value, right? You'll see them at a job site, you'll see that they're doing a pretty good job, and then you'll just move forward with working with them without your being protected. That is an absolute no-no. So, one thing at the Dallas Real Estate Investment Group, that's dallasreig.com. Uh, that's what supports the Real Estate for Life podcast. We talk about a lot of these different aspects of the contracts, but these are some of the tips that you can actually use to prevent, if anything else, them skipping out on you. You'll know where they reside. So I wanted to share that with you. Again, this is Real Estate for Life, helping you with all of your real estate transactions and needs, and giving you information and education about how you can proceed, and not only for ourselves as a real estate investor, but also for the contractor, right? They need to be protected as well. And I would always say this: make sure you pay what you agree to. If they do a good job, make sure you pay them on time. But also always get a release of lien So you have that documentation in your file folder for each job, but make sure you document everything. And that's the one thing I will say: do not skip this step. It's very easy to come to uh, an agreement when it's in writing, and they're three quarters or halfway through the job, and things change. There all will can be change orders, but typically there shouldn't be many variations if you do the contract right, and then there won't be any animosity or any confusion. Where I see there's confusion is when there's nothing in writing, and a lot of real estate investors do that. And I don't care if you've been working with someone for a very long time, you should always have it in writing. And so that if something does happen to you or you're on vacation, the next person up can take over, and there won't be any issue. So um, thank you for listening. Again, we will have more information on real estate for life, but thought I'd share that with you. Make sure you add these clauses, and it should help you uh, at least be able to get in contact with a contractor if you do have a disagreement or get sideways. So, thank you again, and we will talk to you soon.